Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Yeah.
This is where we really try to unpack the big ideas from different sources. Get you those sharp insights fast.
Yeah, get right to the good stuff.
Exactly. So today we're diving into some excerpts, discussions about 0 to 1. That's the book by Peter Thiel.
Mm-hmm.
And if you maybe don't know the name, immediately he co-founded PayPal, was a really early investor in Facebook.
Right. Big names.
Yeah. And, well, he's also the guy who sometimes talks about building, like, libertarian island nations.
He does indeed. He's definitely not afraid of a big idea.
But definitely not.
Yay.
So he thinks differently, that's for sure.
Right. And that's kind of our mission today, isn't it? To really get under the hood of this book. It's super influential, but people say it, confuses founders just as much as it inspires them.
Huh. Interesting balance.
Yeah. So we want to explore how these insights might, reshape how you think, whether you're building a company or just like innovating in your job or tackling some problem.
Basically challenging some assumptions.
Oh, exactly. Get ready for maybe a few beliefs to get gently disrupted.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
So the big question first, what is 0 to 1? Like, what the heck does that actually mean?
Yeah, the title itself.
Right. So from Thiel's point of view, it's that jump, going from nothing to something. That's the definition of, like, real innovation.
Okay, nothing to something.
Yeah. Because doing stuff we already know how to do, that's just taking the world from 1 to N.
Yeah.
You're just copying, basically, making more of the same.
Incremental stuff.
Exactly. But Thiel says every single time we create something genuinely new, something that wasn't there before, that's when we go from 0 to 1.
Ah, okay. That distinction is key.
Yeah. And the source gives a great example, like making another TikTok clone.
Right. We see a lot of those.
That's 1 to N, just another iteration.
Yeah.
But inventing TikTok in the first place, that was 0 to 1.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes it really clear. The true invention versus the copy.
It really puts the focus squarely on originality, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And, what's interesting is why these ideas have stuck around, why they matter so much.
Right. It's not just some random business book.
No, definitely not. I mean, the credibility behind 0 to 1 is pretty staggering when you look at the endorsements. These aren't just theories.
Yeah, you mentioned endorsements. We're not talking about, like, blurbs on the back cover here.
No, we're talking heavy hitters. Like Elon Musk, he called it required reading.
Required reading.
Wow, for anyone starting a company, yeah. And Mark Zuckerberg apparently gave it to his whole leadership team at Facebook.
Okay, so Zuck and Musk.
Right, and Reid Hoffman, founder of LinkedIn, he basically said, look, Peter Thiel built multiple breakthrough companies, and this book shows you how he did it.
Okay, so these are people who've actually done the 0 to 1 thing, saying this book explains it.
Precisely. These are like battle-tested principles, not just ideas cooked up in an office somewhere.
Got it. Okay, so with that kind of weight behind it, let's get into the core ideas, the stuff that gives you those aha moments, you said.
Yeah, the concepts that might make you really rethink things.
And the first one is, well, it's a bit punchy. Thiel's first big idea, competition is for losers.
Yeah, that definitely gets your attention.
Right. In a world that's all about competition.
Got the...
Beat the competition. He said, nope. If you want to be really successful, actually avoid it.
It sounds completely backwards at first glance.
Totally. But his reasoning, it's kind of simple when you break it down.
Okay.
He says, look, in a super competitive market, you're just fighting over scraps.
Right.
Always looking over your shoulder, making tiny changes just to keep up.
Yeah, defensive moves, like airlines or something.
Exactly. Profits get squeezed, nobody makes real breakthroughs. But if you create a monopoly, a creative one he calls it, then you own the whole buffet, not just the scraps.
Right, you set the terms. But isn't monopoly kind of a dirty word?
Well, yeah, and that's the key. He argues it's not about being like an evil monopoly crushing everyone. It's about creating something so new and valuable that you are the market, at least for a while.
Okay, so it's a creative monopoly, earned through innovation, not like bullying tactics.
Exactly. He says creative monopolies give customers more choices by adding entirely new categories of abundance to the world. You have the freedom, the resources to actually invent more cool stuff because you're not just fighting rivals.
So you can focus on making things better, not just cheaper or slightly different.
Right. The examples are always like Google in the early days or maybe PayPal. They weren't fighting existing search engines or payment systems directly. They created something fundamentally new.
Okay. So the advice is be Google, don't be Bing.
Pretty much. Don't fight for market share. Go create a new market where you're the only player, at least initially.
That's a tall order, though. create a whole new market.
Definitely. Which kind of leads into the next big idea, right?
Yeah,
If you're aiming for that kind of massive success, that monopoly, how does that play out?
Yeah, how do you even fund that or think about the odds? That brings us to the power law of venture capital.
Okay, power law, what's that about?
It basically means that in the startup world, outcomes aren't evenly distributed. Not at all. Meaning, like, for a venture capital firm, one huge success, one Google, one Facebook, can literally pay for all the other investments that failed completely.
Ah, okay. So one winner covers all the losers and then some.
Exactly. The source used a cool analogy. Think of the Marvel movies. Iron Man was such a giant hit, it basically carried phase one financially, making it possible for maybe less guaranteed hits like Thor 2 to even get made.
Huh. Okay, I get that. Iron Man paid the bills so Thor could exist.
Right. So if you connect that idea to being a founder or an investor, the mindset has to be kind of go big or go home.
Go big or go back to your day job, as the source put it.
Yeah, exactly. You're swinging for the fences. You need that one massive outlier success, that 0 to 1 breakthrough, because that's where the real value is created. It changes the definition of success. It's not about a portfolio of okay companies.
It's about finding that one rocket ship.
Precisely.
Okay, so we need to aim for these huge market-creating ideas, these potential power law winners. But where do those ideas come from? It feels like you need some kind of secret insight, right?
You're teeing up the next one perfectly. Thiel's idea is that secrets are real.
Secrets. Like classified information.
No, not like that. More like important truths that most people just don't see or don't believe yet.
Okay. Truths hiding in plain sight, almost.
Kind of. Thiel argues that the best startups, the really groundbreaking ones, are built on these secrets. Things you believe are true based on your unique insight or perspective that the rest of the world hasn't accepted or maybe hasn't even thought about.
Why haven't they accepted it?
Could be lots of reasons. Maybe it's uncomfortable. Maybe it goes against conventional wisdom. Maybe people are just used to thinking a certain way. Cognitive bias, It takes real conviction to hold on to a belief like that.
And he has that killer question, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah. It's a great one. He asks, what important truth do very few people agree with you on?
Ooh. Yeah, that's one of those questions. Like the source said, makes you stare at the ceiling at 2 a.m.
Totally. It forces you to look for those non-obvious contrarian ideas. Where do you see the world differently? That's where the 0 to 1 opportunities might be hiding.
It's less about finding a hidden map, more about having a different lens to view the world.
Exactly. And often that different lens comes from the founder themselves, right? Their unique personality, their quirks even.
Which brings us to the founders themselves.
Yeah, the founder's paradox.
Wow.
Thiel points out that founders, especially the really successful, disruptive ones, they're often a bit weird. Like a mix of extremes. Super brilliant, but maybe reckless. Visionary, but also incredibly stubborn. Intense personalities.
Okay, I can picture that. Not exactly your standard middle manager.
Definitely not. But Thiel argues that it's that specific mix, that weirdness, that actually allows them to, bend reality a little, to push through the skepticism and doubt and actually create those 0 to 1 moments.
The weirdness is the feature, not the bug.
Kind of, yeah. The source used Steve Jobs as the prime example.
Right, the black turtleneck, the reality distortion field.
Exactly. He was obviously brilliant, obviously difficult sometimes, but he fundamentally changed multiple industries. Communication, music, photography.
Yeah, no kidding. But, okay, there's a paradox, right? Doesn't that same weirdness, that stubbornness, become a problem later on? When the company needs to grow up, get organized.
That's the tricky part, and yeah, the book touches on this. The paradox is that the traits needed to start something revolutionary aren't always the same ones needed to scale it smoothly.
Right.
The founder's intense vision is crucial early on, but as the company grows, that vision needs to translate into a strong culture, a clear mission that the whole team buys into. It's about channeling that initial founder energy into something sustainable.
So the founder sets the trajectory, but the team has to fly the plane eventually.
That's a good way to put it. The founder's initial weirdness shapes the DNA, but it has to evolve.
Okay, this is all fascinating stuff about founders and startups. But what if you're listening and thinking, okay, great for tech bros, but I'm not starting the next Facebook?
Yeah, that's a super important point. Is this just for tech founders?
Right. Is there something here for, everyone else?
And the answer is definitely yes. I mean, 0 to 1 isn't just a startup manual. It's really about a way of thinking.
Thinking life.
Like a contrarian, like a builder. a creator. It's about cultivating original thought regardless of your field.
Okay. So looking for your own 0 to 1 opportunities, even if it's not a company.
Exactly. The source had those great historical examples, right? Imagine if Isaac Newton just thought, gravity. Someone else probably figured that out.
Yeah, right. Or the Wright brothers saying, well, we don't have a pilot's license, better wait.
Exactly. The book encourages you to look at your own work, your own industry, your own challenges, and ask, where is everyone just copying? Where is everyone doing one to N?
And where could I do something truly new? Create something from nothing.
Precisely. Where's the white space in your world? That's the challenge. It applies way beyond Silicon Valley.
Okay, that broadens it out nicely. So if we were to boil all this down,
Yeah.
what's the TLDR from this deep dive?
Right. The key takeaways, I'd say, first, think bold. Don't just tweak things. Aim to truly invent.
Got it. Be ambitious.
Second, build what actually doesn't exist. Look for that gap, that secret.
Avoid the clones.
Third, actively try to avoid crowded races. Don't jump into the bloody red ocean of competition if you can help it. Create your own blue ocean.
Find your monopoly, your unique space.
And fourth, maybe the hardest part. Be willing to start where there's no map. Because true innovation happens off the beaten path.
Okay. Think bold, build new, avoid crowds, embrace the unknown.
That's a pretty good summary.
And maybe the underlying message, the most important one, is about conviction. Believing in something like really hard.
I think so.
So hard that even when literally everyone is telling you you're crazy or that'll never work, you can kind of smile and think.
I must be onto something.
Exactly. That contrarian signal. So the challenge for you listening right now is maybe. What's your crazy idea? What truth do you see that others don't? What might be your 0 to 1 moment just waiting for you to pursue it?
That's the question Peele leaves you with. A powerful one.